This is the Mandalorians, the Explosion Network's after show, breaking down and discussing every episode of the Disney Plus Star Wars even original series, The Mandalorian. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Requested media is not available. Please try again. If you continue to have problems, please contact Disney Plus subscription support. Error code 41.
Is that what's that?
So,
yeah?
a bunch of people who were trying to watch The Mandalorian, myself included, got that error popping up constantly. It's while trying to... No, when they tried to play the episode to start off with.
What was you trying to watch it on?
Yeah. On my PS4.
Okay.
So I had to I watched it on my laptop.
Interesting. So I watched it, I think I started, maybe 5-ish minutes after you pressed play probably. And I watched it through my TV app and I had no problem. So I don't know.
Yep. It's a weird thing. If you look up Mandalorian error, there's a bunch of people around the time the episode went live not happy.
Weird. Nonetheless, we all watched it eventually.
But,
that's the important
thank
thing.
the Force, we were able to watch it
exactly,
after. So it's all good.
Okay, so this episode, the first official episode of Season 2 premiere, it's titled Chapter 9, The Marshal, directed and written by Jon Favreau, who, of course, is the showrunner as well. He didn't direct an episode last season, did he? Or he only wrote? Yeah, he only wrote stuff. So this is his first
time directing.
Yeah. So that's a standout for this episode as well, of course. The synopsis for this episode is the Mandalorian is drawn to the Outer Rim in search of others of his kind, which is nothingness, really. But what are your overall thoughts on the premiere episode, Ash?
Really good. Obviously, we got Yeatle straight away. I think he might be more adorable this season. I don't know.
They're playing into it, probably.
I think, that's probably what they realized they need to include a Yeatle reaction shot every single time with him poking his head out of somewhere. But yeah, really, interesting story. I think we may have spoiled it for ourselves a little bit by theorizing about who's going to be in here this season. With Cobb Vanth showing up as the Mandalorian that Mando's looking for. But yeah, to see Amy Sedaris' character come up for a quick cameo, quick bit, it was great. And that's who everybody on the internet is, like, super excited to see Baby Yoda back again. So yeah. And then that last shot, I literally said, "Oh shit," to myself, knowing the ramifications of that shot. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the episode, you can talk about the episode in two ways, and most people are probably going to be talking about the episode in one particular way, which is just solely focusing on that final shot, moments, of course. Yeah. It's and to a degree, I guess people are going to forget how good the episode was up until that point. But yeah, the episode is kind of just going to spend the next week of everyone theorizing around, because obviously we're all assuming it's Boba Fett. And I say that only because we're at a 99 percentage, because who else could it be? Who else could that actor be playing?
It could be one of literally gazillions of clones.
Technically, yes. So I mean, I feel like it's obviously supposed to be Boba Fett. They set up to be Boba Fett. It would be weird for them to have the armor and then show him for it not to be Boba Fett.
It would be a very
move.
Poorly received swerve if it was anybody but Boba Fett.
But I'm still going to put that 99% until we 100% confirmation, which may come next episode, may come later in the season. I don't really know.
May never come.
But let's get that out of the way, because then we can kind of focus on the rest of the episode, I suppose, which is just so you said, "Oh shit," to put into context, we'll rewind it a little bit, but to put into context, when Cobb Vanth first shows up, Timothy Oliphant in the Boba Fett armor, what was you thinking then? When...
Well, I obviously talked about him last episode, so I had a feeling it was him. I also was watching it with subtitles on because I couldn't hear the laptop properly, and my headphones weren't. I was charging them for a big podcast session. And his name came up on his line. So
okay,
yeah.
Giveaway, damn.
So it was a little bit spoiled.
I think obviously the first shot, you're like, armor, Boba Fett.
Yeah, for
but
people
then,
who aren't in the know, that's going to be holy shit. It's Boba Fett.
yeah, but
And then
it
he'll
obviously
take the helmet
doesn't
off.
look anything like Boba Fett. It looks like some weirdo wearing Boba Fett's armor, which is which is exactly what the go is, of course, with the character.
But for the regular person who probably doesn't notice, is just
I don't think they'd recognize the
silhouette
armor
and the color.
I don't think that the regular people would recognize the armor though, like Joe Schmo, you know,
on Tatooine.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like, you know, like family members who watch Star Wars, they probably wouldn't even they wouldn't know what's going. Like they'd have to have me explain what the significance of all of this stuff is. So very inside baseball, super. You got to be in with not like super hardcore Star Wars fan, but you got to be like I hate to say proper fan, but you got to be at least, you know, somewhat more than just a casual Star Wars watcher, I guess. You know. Yeah, the Boba Fett thing though, obviously they were teasing it last season. It's a very long game we've got going. I would say that his reveal at the end with the tease we had last season, I guess, be it next episode or be it later in the here's the thing else. I think it has to be next episode because by God, if he leaves Tatooine and then has some fucking reason to come back again, I'll be like, just no.
I tell you
stop.
what, when he said you had to go to Tatooine, I went, of course they're going to freaking Tatooine straight away.
Yeah, I like 2 times I can handle. I feel, but if he leaves and then it's like, oh, someone else is like, you know, I heard that Mandalorian army you found, that guy's still alive, and then they have to come back to Tatooine. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So
maybe he needs his ship repaired, you know, and there's only one person he trusts.
I can't handle keep coming back to Tatooine. It's stupid. So because of all of that, I'm hoping and gonna say that we have to see more about Boba Fett next episode, and that makes sense, which is exciting. And then that means I also think we'll see I can't remember the actress's name, but the assassin who we presume he saved in that little teaser we saw. What was her name? I can't remember, from fucking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatever else.
Ming-Na.
Yes. And like Mulan and whatever, yeah? That's one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the character name, but obviously there was that shot last season where...
Well, we didn't know if she was...
What, saved?
Alive still.
I mean, I think
she was shot in the gut and left for dead. So.
I think we're supposed to assume that she was safe because they have that shot of someone walking with the spurs, which was to tease. That's when, you know, we was discussing like, was that Boba Fett? Who's that Boba Fett? So I'm going to assume now that will come back, which I think it would be really cool because this episode and I guess like has a lot of little things, and if that happens, it will show that the Mandalorians playing a lot of long game or even short long game, medium long game storytelling, cool things. I do know the problem is short, medium, long, whatever.
Short long, yeah.
Short long. Because there's just even the fact that they have Amy Sedaris back for that little role, it just makes the world feel more real, you know, like the fact that he would come back there. I saw someone else on Twitter I follow point out that the Tuscan Raiders have binocs that the Mando gave him last season. Like, I'm like small, tiny detail, but of course makes the whole
big difference.
It makes a big difference. It makes it feel more real and just it's small attention to detail and it's like it's kind of cool stuff like that. That's exciting. So yeah. All right, so Boba Fett next season, that's exciting. Next episode, that's exciting. I feel like that's again, everyone's just going to be focusing on that. I want to rewind and talk about the rest of the episode because I think this is probably one of the stronger episodes of the entire show because it is like it's like a weird combination of both being the most Western influenced, like straight up like cowboy shit, like, and then also weirdly like a kaiju dragon monster movie. Like it's a weird mix.
Also, it's long.
Yeah, it's like whatever, 54 minutes or whatever.
50 minutes, I think, without trailers and stuff.
And there's been rumors.
So I don't know if it'll be eligible for the same Emmys it won this year. For the 30 minutes or less episode.
Yeah, that's a good point. But there's also been rumors ahead of the season that apparently all the episodes were going to be roughly the same length instead of varying. So if this is the standard for season 2, I ain't going to say
Yeah.
no. You know,
fitting in more, realize they need to fit in more Yeatle reaction shots.
Yeah.
It's where all the extra time is.
Well, yes, that's true. All right, so I'm going to run through, and we're going to run through the episode, of course, and I'll stop, discuss some key things that excite you or whatever. We'll stop where we need to. So the episode starts with the scene we've seen in the trailer where they never really said where he was, but some random planet. He's walking, Mando and Yeatle are walking to some random town. They walk up to a bar, and Mando says he's here to see Gora Koresh, who was played, I don't know if it was voiced or costumed by John Leguizamo. That's cool.
Leguizamo.
I can never say his name. I'm so sorry.
Leguizamo.
Which I didn't actually recognize him.
Here? Yeah, I didn't recognize it until I went back and looked at the credits.
Yeah. It wasn't until the credits popped up that I was like, oh wow, that's interesting.
And then once you go back and look at it again, it's like, oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, I want to know if it's actually him there or he just did voice later.
I reckon
it could be. I don't know. Like maybe he wanted to be there.
All that makeup, yeah. It could have
maybe
been.
He wanted. Maybe he wanted
good buddies with Jon. So.
Star Wars experience. So I don't know. So inside, he sits down. The Mando sits down next to Gora. You got this cool bar scene that was seen in the trailer before, of course, where you've got these Gamorreans fighting in the middle with I wrote down vibro axes. Like they look like vibro blades, but axes, I guess. It's pretty cool, like to see them fighting and like clashing and hitting one another, and it's cool. But Mando's come here, obviously, so led to believe that someone said this guy can give you information that could lead you to a Mandalorian, because the Mando, of course, still in his mission to get Yeatle to his people. He's decided that the best way to go about that is to find more Mandalorians, which will help him, I guess. He says later in the episode, like, through underground part, like, he wants networks, is what it sounds like.
Networks, yeah.
Yeah. So Koresh turns on him, pulls out a bunch of guns. His goons pull out guns because he wants the Mandalorian's armor. Everyone always wants his armor. That's one thing we've kind of come to.
It is very shiny.
It is very shiny, it's true. And then we get a cool fight scene that we'd seen in the trailer, of course, where he kills everyone in a glorious fashion. I think the best part is the little vibro dagger thing he pulls out, and he stabs that one.
Was that a thing we've seen before? That was.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before, and like I don't think in the movies or anything like that, but yeah, we've seen
like in the show.
Yeah, in the show. I don't think it's on the show. I don't think so. I don't think it's in the show. But I've seen stuff like that.
So like, oh, that's new.
Yeah, it's very cool, especially that part where he chucks it behind and like straight into the guy. Yeah, that was
straight into the
Demorian,
whatever. Yeah, that you thought was going to be a big deal, but no.
I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. I just thought it was noteworthy.
You claimed it was going to be a big deal.
Slowly, it's just like a universe building stuff that we haven't seen in live action before. That I'm happy to see it.
Yeah.
So then he chases down Gora, who's outside whimpering like all these little bandits always do without his people, and Mando strings him up. Real cowboys. There's lots of very Western. Very cowboy. He hangs him up. He gets information. He says there's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. So the Mando's like,
of course,
love that place. Happy to go back there. Sure, do what I need to do.
Love sand.
I think the best part about this scene though is when he walks away and he just like shoots out the lights, and you see, I don't know what they were, but the red eyes light up of obviously those monsters who I guess are afraid or the light hurts them or whatever, and then the fact they just creepily start moving in on Gora, because Mando said he wouldn't be the one to kill him by his hands, but got him.
Loopholes.
Yeah, loopholes. Technicalities is what we're all about here. So I thought this was really cool. Great way to start the episode, because then we get the title card. Chapter 9, the Marshal. First time hearing the song again. I've been excited all day waiting for the episode after watching the catch-up video and just humming that all day. So as soon as it came on, I'm like, there we go. They didn't change the key Mandalorian theme song thing, so that's
thanks, Ludwig.
That's good. So Mando lands, and we're happy to see Amy Sedaris playing Pelican Motto once again is the character's name, aka the engineer lady that fell in love with little baby Yeatle last season and was very happy to see little Yeatle once again. And I love the little scene where she's like, if you have any offspring or someone or whatever, you can even send me, like, how much for it? No, I'm joking. Like, she's just, she's great. Even
if it ever bulbs or divides, I will take the offspring.
Sounds like talking about like a gizmo from fucking
Gremlins.
Yeah. Or something like that, yeah. So Mando asks, hey, I'm looking for a Mandalorian. She's like, no, I haven't seen any. He says apparently it's supposed to be at a place called Mos Pelgo. And she's like, yeah, that place is probably destroyed by now, but it was around prior to the Empire days or whatever. So she pulls out an old map, which R5 brings over, and I'm pretty sure, unless someone tells me otherwise, R5 is R5 from R5 Star Wars: A New Hope, I believe, is what. Unless I'm talking at my ass, it's of a robot next to R4 that Owens originally takes, but then.
I mean, yeah, the R5 unit's been in a bunch of different stuff.
It blows its head up. I'm choosing to believe it's the same R5 unit. Fucking come at me. Anyway.
The one that almost got sold to Luke Skywalker.
Yes, that one.
Okay.
I think it's that one. Or that little Easter egg. I believe that's yeah. I mean, Favreau loves Easter eggs and big original trilogy fans, so it would make sense if he's thrown that in, I think. Either way, R5 comes over, gives up a map, points Mando to Mos Pelgo's location. So then the Mando heads over there on a speeder bike that he'd used and borrowed from Pelican last season. So heads on over there. Along the way, he camps with some Tuscan Raiders, has a great chat, chills. I like this whole montage scene, just driving along with some great shots of the. I mean, it's all sand, but there's some great shots, and then.
It's almost a tourism ad for Tatooine.
Yeah. To a degree, yeah. When he arrives in the small town, it's kind of like that. It again, very Western feeling.
Super Western, yeah.
It's the outsider walking into the town, and literally everyone just standing outside on their the decks or whatever you want to call them, and their houses and whatever, just staring as the Lone Ranger kind of walks in. It's super Western feeling, but that's really cool. Mando stops, heads inside to the cantina here, speaks to some dude who I don't think we ever got the name of, or at least I couldn't find the name of who the actor was. It wasn't in the credits as far as I could see anyone listed for that, unless I missed it. I don't know. But talks to the little dude behind the bar and asks
the bartender.
Bartender asks if there's been any Mandos here. He says, what do they look like? Mandalorian goes, like me. He's like, oh, you mean like the Marshal? And then he says, well, you can find out for yourself. And then Mandalorian turns around, and of course, that's where we see our first shot of Boba Fett. No, it's not Boba Fett. It's actually a guy who sits down and introduces himself as Cobb Vanth. Who's played by Timothy Oliphant, who we did know was going to be in this season. I think he was like the first guest appearance person that we had word of, like officially, not like rumored.
Confirmed.
But confirmed in the season was like Timothy Oliphant's in this. So it wasn't a shock to see him, but, you know, of course it's somewhat shocking to see him under the Boba Fett helmet. Yeah. So, and again, super Western-y like scene where the dude, he sits down, he's like, now I know you people want my armor or whatever, and then Mando says for him to take the armor off, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna do this right here, right now." You're like, it's super, just the language and the. I feel like
Timothy. Not that accent though.
I feel like he was adding a slight, like, not accent, but like delivery of the words to add like that Western-y.
I mean, he could.
Dialogue.
I mean, obviously, he's got a history in westerns with a long run on Deadwood, so
yeah. Although, you know what I was thinking about watching this scene? I was just thinking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because that's the most recent thing I think I've seen Timothy Oliphant in, and he plays I can't remember the actor's name, but he's playing the actor doing a Western scene in that movie next to Leo. So that's all I was thinking about, because it's that like 20-minute, half an hour scene of just him sitting in a bar. So I'm like, damn, this is quite interesting. Nonetheless, so they have a talk. They're about to have a showdown, and then you hear this giant earthquake start to take place, and they walk outside, and you see this like the sand moving and whatever else, and it's this crate dragon, or what if you were to call it a sandworm at first, I don't think it'd be too.
When I first saw it take out the bantha, I thought it was a sand shark.
Yeah, well, even yeah,
So-
I think any of that stuff's fine. They clearly name it later in the episode. As far as I'm aware or can remember, I haven't done like super fact checking because we haven't had time. We're recording this kind of straight after the episode, more or less. But crate dragons, I know, have been in the games before, like particularly the Old Republic or whatever. I know they've been in that, and I think, and maybe they were in like Legends material, but I can't recall, at least off the top of my head, seeing them in any recent like now canon stuff, like canon stuff. I can only ever think that they were introduced in the old stuff. So, did they show up in a quick Google search over there? Or no?
Skeleton was in A New Hope apparently, but no, mostly random stuff.
Adds up.
Mostly as a skeleton, so
Yeah. Well, if it was in anything, it was probably like.
Apparently, there's a tooth available in Star Wars Squadron.
Fucking hell. There you go. Shout out. So Cod Vanth asks Mando, he says, "Hey, I'll give you the armor if you help me take down this thing." And Mando's like, "Cool, no worries. I'll head back to the Razor Crest, jump in, swing around, blast it from the sky." And then Vance says, "Ain't gonna work. It'll sense your ship coming and it'll go into hiding." I appreciate that, as silly as all of this is, that they do actually do a quick exchange to explain why he doesn't just go get the ship and blast it from the sky. They do enough to explain it. I still think it's kind of silly because later in the episode you're like, well, how come they couldn't just trick it to come out and then come in out of nowhere and fucking blast? I don't know. Anyway. Don't want to overthink it too much. So
it's pretty quick. So
yeah. I guess I'll give it a point. So they head out on what Mando heads out on his bike. I do want to ask a question here: where is it or is it not? Does Vance's speeder look like a pod racer, especially very similar to Anakin's? And I may just be.
I think you're stretching, but there is definitely that long, whatever single engine look to it. Especially with him sitting next to it rather than like behind it. Maybe it was a pod racer. I don't know how you steer it. I don't know how it works, but yeah.
Like if it's a retired pod racer, it would be. I mean, I don't think, as far as we know, if like pod racing was ever cancelled under the Empire's reign. Like, as far as we're aware, like they never really explained that. Like, pod racing could still have been happening.
No, I reckon Darth Vader kept pod racing.
Yeah.
He was very happy for
He loves pod racing, so yeah. So,
or maybe he did cancel it, because it reminded him of a better time. He didn't like
could be a thing.
You can go either way.
Either way, I mean, if they shut down pod racing then or after, it's like it fits for it to be a retired pod racer, I guess. Nonetheless, it looks like it's a ship cobbled together by.
It definitely looked odd.
Odd, yes. Much like a lot of things in this. I don't know. Jon Favreau, I think, was just making me look for more Easter eggs than maybe there is. I don't know. So they head out to try and find the nest of the crate dragon. Along the way, they bump into a bunch of Tuscan Raiders, who the Mando has a nice chat with after talking down their. I don't actually know the species name, or if I'm supposed to. I don't know, but I'm sure there is a proper name. I just don't know it. I'm sorry. But the Tuscan Raiders as dogs is just what I wrote them down as, because they're like basically they're wolf animals. I guess they used to protect themselves and hunt with or something like that. I'm sure they have a species, but nonetheless, Mando talks to them. They go have a little bit of a camp. Vanth doesn't get along particularly well with the Tuscan Raiders because they've had fights in the past where Vance has killed Tuscan Raiders and Raiders have killed Vance's townspeople. I tell you what, the other thing I found super interesting about this is that, so after saying in the first episode we did last week about how, Tuscan Raiders are quite interesting because you can, you can dig into the idea of the Tuscan Raiders being sort of the natives to Tatooine and the fact that they're kind of pushed to the outskirts and treated as the, wild animals or the wild people or whatever, which kind of works, and they turn on their head because this episode's obviously playing into Western tropes where Native Americans were always presented as, like the wild bad people in those stories, and that's, I guess, what the Tuscan Raiders are to equivalent here. However, it does the whole thing of saying, like, Mando's like, well, look, they're not actually that bad. Everyone should get along. Like, they don't go super hardcore on that whole idea, but I found it interesting that this episode plays with that after I said that when we was talking about the trailer last week, so I thought it was interesting. Also, they make him, I don't know what it is, but that thing they crush and they try and make Vanth drink, like he says it smells. It certainly looked disgusting. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
It
looked like it was dead.
Yeah. Didn't look like it was.
I think it was like just rotten fruit.
And they just
or long preserved fruit
or something. Yeah. I don't know. It's fucking yuck either way.
Yeah.
So they go find the Great Dragon's cave, which they explain is a Sarlacc pit where the Sarlacc has died. Vance says that's not a real thing that happens, and then Mando says, well, if they ate the Sarlacc, that would be a thing where the Great Dragon could then be living in a Sarlacc pit. So as soon as they got to this, where they're like, it's a Sarlacc pit, I'm like, please, Lord, don't let them find Boba Fett, like, freezed in, like, Sarlacc cry frozen, something utterly ridiculous, because as soon as they're like, it used to be a Sarlacc pit, I was like, oh god, here we go. Like, what do we...
It's preserved.
Yeah, preserved somehow in like
Sarlacc
acid or something. Or
something, yeah.
Even by the time we got to the end where they're cutting up all the meat, I was like, please don't have him just roll out. So I was like, that would have been some like high level, old school Star Wars Legends comics kind of ridiculousness in the bad way, not the good way. So I'm glad that's not what happened. But yeah, it's what I was thinking about while this was happening. So that they test out the cave. Tuscan Raiders try to deliver it a bantha. Doesn't go particularly well though, because
not for the Tuscan Raider.
No, not for the Tuscan Raider. For the bantha, it survives, so that's quite nice.
Lucky bantha,
yeah. And after that, I enjoyed this scene where the Tuscan Raiders got the war plan, I guess if you want to call it, the little they've got the little rocks that represent them and the Mando and Vanth, and then they've got the skeleton of the dragon, and Vanth is like, that can't be to scale, and then the Mando asks them in their language or whatever, and he's like, they said it's to scale. I just like the idea that the Tuscan Raiders have diligently built this thing to scale, like this model for their little war table.
Out of bones from other animals?
From some other animal, yeah. Like, and everything else they're doing, they're like, here's some fucking rotten fruit or whatever, but we have diligently created this model for scale so we can know what the great dragon looks like. So then Mando's like, yeah, no worries, we need more people. He offers up the townspeople. So then they head back to Moz, whatever it is. I've already forgotten the name. I'm sorry. Espos or something like that, wasn't it? I've already fucking forgot. Jesus Christ, I can't find it here. Mos Pelgo. Yeah. I need the bolds and things here to make it easy to find. There's a tip for the next episode. They head back to Mos Pelgo, and Vanth is like, hey, this is a Mandalorian. They're like, hey, Mandalorian. He wants his armor. I'm going to give it to him. He said he'll help me kill the Great Dragon. Cheers. Y'all need the help. Boo. Like, it seemed like a very, like, rustle of emotions, but it was fun. I'm glad they didn't do the... So when they were coming to the scene, I thought was going to see that repeat of the storyline of like, oh, and then the Mando trains the townspeople on how to fight. You know, like we saw last season. And I'd seen in the Clone Wars as well, and it was just like, I've seen this, which is a Western trope again. Like literally the Magnificent Seven, whatever you want to call it. The what's the original called? Seven Samurai
Samurai.
Whatever the Western one was. No. So that's where those stories are based from. But I didn't want to see that again. We seen it last season. The episode directed by Bryce Dallas Howes. Episode 4 of the first season, I think it was. Yeah,
say 3.
3. Okay, that makes. But well, yeah, sure, 3. So I'm glad that wasn't what happened. And instead, they're just like, okay, cool, we'll come help. So then the Tuscan Raiders turn up. Again, I appreciate everything I think about the Tuscan Raiders in this episode. I think it's really cool for them to expand on them and actually make them
not be the bad guys.
Yeah. I think this is it does a lot for them.
Shows them in a positive light.
Yeah. Of course, in the original film, New Hope, it's like they're just monsters that'll kill you. And then that little shot that you see of them in Phantom Menace, they're just pop-shotting the pod races as they're racing around the track. So they haven't really had much time to explore to...
And they're the ones who get slaughtered by Anakin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've always just been, hey, monsters. And here they're presented as something more. So I think it's cool that it's expanded on. And that scene where they're coming over the hill and the townspeople are watching them and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. And then they have that little nearly a fight where the one Tuscan Raider nearly drops the explosive, and that dude's like, "What are you doing? Dropping the explosive!" And the Tuscan Raider's like, "I don't fucking understand you. What the fuck are you saying?" Then they head on over to the Crate Dragon's nest, or whatever you want to call it, cave.
Yeah.
And the plan is, as silly as it sounds, like we're going to put a bunch of these explosives in the sand. And we're going to then set up ballistas, right? Is what they're...
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
Sure. That sounds right.
I think that sounds right. The big spear things, big, whatever you call those, like Game of Thrones.
Massive
medieval,
crossbow things.
Yeah, crossbow things. They're like, we're going to set up a bunch of these somehow. And then the idea is we'll draw out the Crate Dragon and then we will...
We'll blow it up.
Blow it up. Which I guess, in theory, seems like it'll work with absolutely zero room for error. But, you know, I'm watching this show.
The only thing I'd have to say is this is the creature that travels through the sand.
Yeah.
So the idea that it would go over the
sand. Yeah. There was like a lot of room for this to just go completely sideways. But... And I mean, to a degree, it does. So.
And it did.
Yeah, that's fair. And this whole scene, this whole taking down the crate, I'm just like, the monster itself, really great design, but it's all. I think it's also the fact that this entire scene goes for 15 minutes. I think this whole fight sequence, if you want to call it that, the monster takedown, the kaiju aspect of this episode, it just the amount of money on this one episode, I feel. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just, not only does the monster look good, but the fact that they're not hiding it, the fact that it comes out a lot, the fact you see these big shots of it, the fact that it gets up later on the cliff and it's shooting acid and whatever else. This episode just feels massive on a scale, and it just makes me go, okay, have you blown your budget in one episode, or is this season 1 was past the testing ground, and then Kathleen Kennedy approved
here's all the money,
the bigger check for
open the Scrooge
Vault of Disney. Yeah. Because it just, it's not like season 1 was cheap. Whenever they had special effects, they looked good. But it just, they never felt
just on another level. Yeah.
They never felt like they used too many in the first season, really, which is weird to say considering a lot of the shows, technically shot on high level tech. You know, with those LCD screens or whatever the fuck, and
it's all shot in a studio. Yeah.
Primarily, anyway. I think 90% probably, or whatever it is. So yeah. I know. It just felt very high budget, but this whole thing was great. I love this whole taken out, and then it's starts backing away. So then they begin shooting it, trying to draw it out to make sure it can get over those explosives. And then the fact that when it comes back out, it begins spitting fucking acid, and when it rains down over those couple Tuscan Raiders, it just looks like their bodies just evaporate or melt away into the acid, which is disgusting. And And then even once they set off the explosives, which was apparently its stomach was apparently supposed to be its only weak point.
It's a weak point.
Yeah. Even once they do that, of course, that doesn't work because it's, when you destroy a monster in any monster movie, it always comes back at least once or twice. So makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, when it goes up to the top of the cliff, that's a very like dragon-esque, like dragon sitting on top of its castle nest or whatever, like raining down fire from above, but except for this one's raining down acid. Like this, I thought this was all fucking top-notch, fantastic shit. Yeah, it was great. And then the fact that we get both Vanth and the Mando, like when they tee up, they fly up there. That was a really cool shot. And them landing on the side of the cliff. And, he's got he's on his P's now. I think so. He's on his P's. Surprised how well Vanth flew. I'm surprised that Mando didn't go, "You're not a real Mandalorian, but that took me years." Like, yeah,
I will say we skipped over it, but I did enjoy the Vanth backstory segment.
Oh, that's good. Good point. I got lost amongst everything. That was a important part because like it's good to build up because it not only builds Vance as a character that you quickly like because you get to see that he's like an actual hero, I guess, to a degree. Yeah. Like he comes back to save his town. It also shows what happened because there's a lot of
how he got the armor.
There's a lot of layers to it. Firstly, they're like, hey, second Death Star gets destroyed. Everyone just assumes second Death Star is destroyed. Every place in the galaxy without the Empire went to be perfectly okay. Whereas this shows
much better.
Yeah, this shows that in parts of that galaxy where
probably most places,
well, especially like on the outer regions, which were prior to the Empire, were always run by like the Husk cartels or different criminal enterprises. It kind of shows that as soon as the Empire's grasp was lost on those places, it wasn't like everything's happy roses. They simply fell back under different reigns of criminal groups. And this is a mining corporation group or whatever they explained that quickly ran in and enslaved the town into doing work.
Didn't really look like they were enslaving people.
I think they just implied that they shot up that place as like a
warning.
I guess, like so as far as a warning can go when you're actually killing people, but like he says they enslaved after, so I assume they enslaved the rest of the town or whatever. But yeah, so it's like it shows that, which is a layer that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to like what happened post episode 6 in Star Wars, which is cool to see. And then it explains how and where Boba Fett's armor was, which is obviously something a lot of people would have been asking was. And it also builds Vanth into this hero that you go from being like, am I supposed to like this guy, not like this guy? Like, should I be dubious about his intentions? But I think because you see his full backstory and you see the fact he actually came back and he's a proper like sheriff, true of heart character, like a proper good guy that you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm not going to be dubious that he's going to double cross the Mando or like fly off or shoot him in the face the second he kills the crate dragon. You kind of trust that he's going to come through with what he says he's going to do, which I thought was cool. And Timothy Oliphant definitely does a fantastic job playing that character. I think he's super likable and
when he's like this,
yes. So the of course the end to the crate dragon fight is that the Mando's like, cool, there's Bantha strapped with a bunch of explosives.
Didn't notice it the entire time.
I'm like, why didn't they use old explosives? Maybe that's the reason that it didn't work the first time, because you left some on the fucking Bantha. Like, what do you?
Well, that was Plan B.
Plan B. We'll just send it in. So he's like, cool, I've got this Bantha. I'll activate the explosives. Then they add a great meme, which is the fact that the Mando hits the back of Boba Fett's jetpack thing. And it sends him off, which cues up later when he gives it to him and he says, tell your people that I wasn't the one who did that, which is, people are going to love that, because just playing into the whole, what the fuck, who broke Boba Fett's armor? Why does it do that? Why does it send him shooting off into the sky if you hit it in one like spot like that, you know?
Yeah.
That's been like a key question since Return of the Jedi, so I like how they have that in. It's a great joke. But yeah, so Mando stands there and you get it's almost just Game of Thrones-esque, I guess, with the fact that you have this giant monster come flying in. Seems like, dragon thing, but it's a sandworm dragon, and it's super fantasy bullshit where he gets swallowed from it, but of course he electrocutes it from the inside, so it opens its mouth and he fucking flies out in his jetpack and then blows it up, and of course that works because explosives from the inside in fantasy things always destroy the monster.
Well, they should.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see he didn't blow up and then like fly out through the hole. I was waiting for that ridiculous, but glad they didn't go there.
Because I think that was what everybody thought Boba Fett was going to do. He was going to fly out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
The side of the Sarlacc pit or whatever, yeah.
That was great. And then they cut to the next shot, which they show the Tuscan Raiders receiving the crystal, or I can't remember the actual name of it. But
was that significant?
I think that's just a call out from memory. I think that's just a call out to in the game. Again, the only time I can think of when they had these fucking things was in the Old Republic games, and you could get that. I think is the call.
Oh yeah,
like it's
the pearls.
Yes, it's a pearl. Yeah, that's what it's called, pearl. Yeah.
That's right.
So it's a very like left field call out to very particular audience, but I think that's all it's supposed to be. I don't think there's any significant, which is weird because they show it clearly, like the audience is supposed to go like, this is something I should remember or think about this pearl, but I'm pretty sure it's just a random Easter egg that they just they show clearly, so fans at home who know or have played those games are like, huzzah! I get the meme. I get the Easter egg. That's all. And of course then Mando heads off. But the other thing is, and as to why, like I would, like season 2 should still, episode 2, chapter 10 should still be here, is like, really, he came here looking for a Mandalorian. All he found was Mandalorian armor. Like his path hasn't actually, his journey hasn't actually moved forward on the board at all. Like he's still at a certain position on the Monopoly table. He hasn't actually got anything. Really?
No.
Like
he's got a backup.
He's got backup armor technically, and that's like all he can do.
Kind of faulty backup armor.
Faulty backup armor. Yeah. I guess
I was surprised that he took it. To be honest, a little bit.
What else?
Like,
I think that's just part of his like that's creed,
so much,
or like he's you got to remember he's still the type of Mandalorian that like he won't take his helmet off in type of people, and like he's still following that degrees of the Mandalorian creed. So I think it's like taking the armor is just part of that, I guess. I should have said it at the start, but I think the armor looks great. I think the important thing about the armor is that it's recognizably Boba Fett's armor, but also it's deservingly fucked up.
It is. It's worn.
Yes, like it looks like it went through a Sarlacc pit's stomach, is what it looks like.
Yeah, it's believable that it could have been through a fair bit of acid,
and it's also got the bullet hole on the bullet indent, I guess, or blaster indent, proper wording, blaster indent on the helmet, which is important. And then I'm sure there's some other things I don't even know or can't think of. I'm sure someone's going to put up like a fantastic
full
article or something,
piece by piece breakdown of his armor.
Guarantee, which is cool, and I will happily read or look at such a thing. Was there any other call outs for this episode, moments missed, or things you particularly liked? Was there a favorite scene or thing that you had?
No, obviously that big battle was great. I do like how much the Tuscan Raiders love their Banthas brushing its teeth, even though it was probably being taken to its doom.
Taken to its doom, but they look after it until that point.
Yeah, making sure it doesn't get any plaque. Very important. Banthas. Great episode for Banthas.
I mean,
yeah.
Was it? Was it?
I mean, it was funny when the Bantha got eaten by at the start. It was just drinking water and this giant. I think that effect was really good as well. The of him going under the sand.
Every effect in this episode. That's what I'm saying. Like everything was fucking.
Yeah, it looked great.
Great. It's hard to.
Holy that dude.
Yeah, it's hard to forget. Like, oh, it's a TV show, but it really is upping that quality. Like, not to say like the first season felt like it was TV Star Wars. But I feel like this, especially this first episode, just like if this is where we're going, like the standard of special effects or whatever for the thing. The other thing I wanted to do, I guess, because it's the for the first episode of the second season was, now that you have, is there anything in this episode that helps you get a better idea of where you think the season is going at all? No.
I mean, other than him looking out for Mandalorians, I guess that would potentially explain why maybe he runs into certain characters from Rebels.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring this up. I don't know if you've seen this or not. I don't know if it's been pulled down by now, but this morning on the Disney Plus Hotstar Premium, which I think is like a kids Instagram account. Hold on, let me just double check this. Yeah, so Disney Plus Hotstar Premium Instagram account, which I don't really know what the account's like specific focus is supposed to be, but it's got a tick. You know, it's like it's official.
Disney Plus Hotstar is a Indian subscription video on demand streaming service owned by Star India, a subsidiary of Disney Company India.
Ah, okay.
So pretty much it's Indian Disney Plus.
There you go. So it is no longer here, because I understand why it would no longer be here. But I mean, if you are worried about spoilers, us confirming potential spoilers, you can leave now. I'm sorry, Sigo. But so this morning they posted on that account a 2-picture slide which had a bunch of stats about this upcoming season of Mandalorian. Most of it was nothing substantial. However, one slide had a picture of Ahsoka, and the text read, "What does Ahsoka Tano's live-action avatar look like?" Rosario Dawson is set to play the famous Clone Wars Jedi. So that account seems to have confirmed officially that Rosario Dawson will indeed be playing Ahsoka Tano this season, which I don't think is shocking, considering, again, as we talked about last episode, all of the rumors have been pretty fucking credible, and like it's just one of those worst kept secrets at this point. But the fact that they posted this on their Instagram this morning, as of Friday morning when we're recording, like the episode came out 6 p.m. tonight, and now that post has been removed from the Instagram account.
Yeah, but I think that probably sells it more than it just being up there.
Just being up there, the fact that they've removed
then it could have just been there. That's what they dived into the internet rumors about the show, even though they're a subsidiary, but they probably don't know everything about the show.
Yeah.
But if it gets pulled, I'm sure there's some credence to it.
Because like below that they had Sasha Banks' character, and it just says, "Who is she? Is Sasha Banks in for a cameo or joining in for the action?" Which was like a nothing thing, but the fact that they're like, Rosario Dawson is set to play the famous Clone Wars Jedi.
Maybe they're pulling it for the Sasha Banks.
Maybe. Yeah. So that's interesting. We'll see what happens next.
So I guess look forward to a new avatar, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't change it, to be honest. Ahsoka's to me is obviously it's years and years and years of animated character. It would be I don't know.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know. I think I'd change. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Mandalorians. Next week's episode, I don't think we know fuck all, so I can't really.
I imagine it'll be chapter 10.
Yeah, well, it's chapter 10, but I don't think we know Tyler. I don't think we've officially locked in who's directing or written what episodes officially, other than the Dave Filoni episode, whatever I said, that was the 4th or 5th one of the season or something like that. Whatever I said last week.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think we know what the fuck's happening this next week.
It's written by Jon Favreau.
Yeah, which every week I think is written or co-written by Favreau, so to a degree.
Yeah, there's 2 episodes.
Oh, boom. You can then, of course, find the show on explosionnetwork.com. You can find the show on youtube.com/Explosion Network if you want to watch the video version. And you can find the show if you'd rather just listen to our voices on all good podcasting services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just search for the MandaLOReians. And follow us on Twitter by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You can find all of our Twitters there or in the show notes. Find all of the things. And until next week, we have spoken.